So, I have a friend that is interested in the hobby, and if put charitably, he's more of a collector. But he's also looking to get into playing Pokémon, at least in a semi-competitive fashion. And because this person can't take in information unless it's presented in video form, this is something that I made to help him out on his journey. And maybe in the process, help out everyone else too. So for the newer or less competitive players, here are some tips to become better at card games. Or at least, play better. And I am less knowledgeable about this genre than the other topic I make videos about, so these won't go too far in depth. The first way to get better at card games? Spend more money. Do it. Spend money. Give into the cardboard. I'm just kidding. While having access to all cards is a great boon, the deck doesn't make the player, and sometimes the best decks are relatively cheap. The game is pay to start and pay to access, but not completely pay to win. So let's save spending more money for a last resort. With that out of the way, let's get to the first actual tip I have for getting better. In 2 words, order matters. Part of decision making isn't just which cards to play, but in what order you should play them. Playing the right card first will heavily impact your turn and will impact the outcome of the game. So what should you do first? Every situation will be different, but there are some general things you want to accomplish first. Things you want to do at the start of your turn before anything else. Card games are variance-based, and that is because you don't have access to all your options at all times. You need to draw your cards before you can play them. Card advantage as a resource is a key part to higher level play. So before you spend your resources or commit to anything, draw your cards first. If you have more options available to you, then you can make a more informed decision, and you have the ability to make a better decision. That doesn't mean always draw. Sometimes you already have the perfect play or don't have the resources to do so, but ending your turn by drawing is not something you want to be doing. The next thing that should be considered is playing cards that have an element of chance involved. That means things like coin flips or damage going somewhere randomly. Same principle with the card draw. If you get the randomness out of the way, you have the opportunity to play around it. But this doesn't mean to always do the random option first. If you have the opportunity to rig the wheel, guarantee an outcome, then that is also a very valuable option to consider. Do your best to make your odds as best as you can, and that could mean thinning your deck by searching before you draw. That could mean playing generation first to see what you get. That can mean playing everything in your hand even if it's suboptimal before you pitch or shuffle back in your hand. You want to try to play your cards at the last possible moment you can where it still makes sense in order to extract the most value out of them. The clearer view you have of the picture, the better decision making you have. It's just that some cards are meant to clear up your view, and other cards are meant to capitalize on it. Draw first. That is the first tip. Order matters, as you would learn after every single turn of a Hearthstone stream. Next up is another tip that is pretty simple, but isn't the most straightforward for newer players. Card games are all about resources. Cards, mana, life. It's about managing all of these things to lead yourself to victory. Which leads to the next tip. Make sure to use every resource you have. Not just your cards, not just your mana, but also your life, health, and your prizes. The game doesn't end with who has more life than the other, it ends when one person's life runs out. That means, as long as your life isn't at 0, you're good. That means you can use your life as a resource. The most applicable example is when your opponent is attacking one of your creatures, and you can choose to sacrifice the creature or eat the damage. Most of the time, the creature is more valuable than the life you lose. By itself, your life doesn't do anything, but you have so many opportunities over the course of a game to do something with your creatures. There are cards in these games that ask you to pay life points, or have your life, or to even knock themselves out. And these cards are all really good. Just take that concept and run with it in your decision making. I'll take the damage now so that I get rewarded later. After all, what doesn't kill me, doesn't kill me. But that doesn't mean just ignore your life. Just like any resource, you still want to keep an eye on it. Using your life as a resource doesn't mean to keep taking damage, it means that you should think about it. Make sure you understand breakpoints, at how much life or health you need to stop using your life as a resource, and when life becomes something you need to protect at all costs. Eventually, you'll be 2 health away from dying to a fireball or a lightning bolt, or you just don't have any more prizes you can give up to power up your actual attackers. So do use all your resources, but try not to go overboard. Which leads directly to the next tip I have. You should understand your matchups. It makes your game plan a lot easier to execute. Certain decks try to do the same thing no matter what, a bit of a straight line type of gameplay. But this isn't usually the case, and even when it is the case, there is a lot of variance that comes into play when your opponent comes into the picture. It's kinda similar to fighting games. The opponent you are matched up against dictates your game plan. If you're a zoner, you want to zone. But if you go up against someone with better zoning tools, you aren't a zoner anymore and need to play differently. And the same thing can be applied to card games. The easiest way to visualize this is with the 3 universal deck speeds that are used as guidelines in the genre: aggro, midrange, and control. Depending on how each of these match up into one another, the pilots of the deck have different ways to approach the game. If you're playing midrange against aggro, all you need to do is to weather the storm. Eventually, they'll run out of gas, and in that case, you'll just win because you have better, more expensive cards once you've survived their burst. You don't need to do lots of damage, you just need to survive. But if you're a mid-range player playing against a control player, your entire mindset should change. Now you aren't trying to survive, you're trying to end the game before the control player can get to their late game value pieces. Your deck didn't change, but the way you play the game did. A control mirror would look very different than a control versus aggro matchup. In an aggro matchup, the control player would be aggressively using their removal to try to stay alive. But in a control mirror, the removal needs to be a bit more selective, trying to get as much value out of the cards as possible in order to be able to out-advantage them in the late game. And those are just the examples with those 3 speeds. There are a lot more with more specialized decks. Understanding that certain combo matchups are either winning before they can combo, or disrupting their combo. Knowing that in order to beat this specific deck, you need to take these knockouts before they evolve and you lose. And understanding when a matchup is just a race to see who can deal damage first, ignoring everything else. But I think the point is made, play the matchup. This definitely takes more time. You need to not only understand your deck, but also the other decks that make up the metagame. But you only need to understand their general game plan. I won't say that it's easy, but knowledge is important, know your enemy, as Jackie Chan said or something. And we arrive at the final tip. This is by far the most important one, so if you leave with just one thing, let it be this. Even the best players can mess up and make a really embarrassing mistake. Usually it's because you didn't read, or you just had a brain fart. It's very important that after you realize you made that mistake, that you immediately scoop up the Yu-Gi-Oh cards and concede. You need to do this to save yourself from any further embarrassment. It doesn't matter if you're winning, you need to do this. The shame concede is vital to your growth as a player. But in all seriousness, the last tip is to not concede. Unless your opponent is actively intentionally drawing out a game you cannot win, don't concede. You are not yet at the level where your opponent is playing perfectly. I don't think the vast majority of players will get to that point. And even still, players will misplay, it's just inevitable. They will miss a legal that you can obviously see. This is true in almost all games, but I think this game has the most incentive for you to play it out. In a game with a more casual atmosphere, it's more likely for their computer to explode and give you a free win. It's happened to me before. Don't FF, play it out. One more thing for those who get discouraged playing this genre. This is a game of variance, and you have to recognize that. So don't put as much emphasis on whether you win or lose, just focus on making the right play. Law of averages means that the better player will win more, so focus on being the better player and the wins will come to you. So to summarize, order, resources, matchups, don't FF. Go play card games.